What's up, airplane collectors? Welcome to a model airplane review. It's your host Ray. In today's video, I'll be reviewing the Gemini 200 British Airways Airbus A350 1000. In this video, I'll talk about the box, then the model itself, and at the end of the video, I'll give my opinion about what I think of the model and whether or not I recommend it to other collectors. That being said, here we go. So starting off with the box is a standard Gemini 200 wide-body box at 33.5 centimeters lengthwise and height-wise, and 11.5 centimeters wide. I'll show you around the box now. So here's the front, bottom, right side, top, left side, and the back side. Take a moment to read this if you'd like to, and here you can see that this is a 2018 release. Once you open up the box, you get the model fully assembled, painted, and ready to go. Two options for landing gear configuration, one in the extended position, the other in the retracted position, and a metal display stand. The metal display stand is pretty good, and it suits the model pretty well, and there are also replacement display stands out there for different display options. For the duration of this video, I will keep the landing gear in the extended position, but later I will demonstrate what the retracted position looks like. So before I begin my review, I'm going to give you a quick 360 of the model so you can get a good look around it, and apologies if my fingers get in the way of anything. So the fuselage length for this model is 37 centimeters, wingspan is 32 centimeters, and it's about 9 centimeters tall. Pretty darn big and accurate to 1 to 200 scale. This model is also pretty heavy for its size because it's made primarily out of die-cast metal. I'd also like to add that this is one of the largest aircraft in my die-cast aircraft collection, falling behind only to the Airbus A380 and the Antonov 225. Starting up with the fuselage, nose shape looks pretty solid. Might not be the most accurate thing in the world, and I do notice that the round off here on the nose cone is a bit sharp. It's pretty sharp here, and I think the curve between the lower nose to the cockpit windows to the upper nose needs to be a bit more defined. So the nose shape isn't 100% accurate, but I guess it plays the part, so I won't complain all that much. There's a great selection of printed and painted detail. Of course, we've got the blue underbelly and all the printed detail. Cockpit windows look pretty good, especially with that raccoon mask. Lots of detail up here as well. As you move down the fuselage, you can see the windows and a bit more detail. That solid gloss finish too looks pretty good. No complaints. There might be a bit of a... Okay, we might have some stains here. Very, very small dust specks. So, yeah, overall pretty solid. Okay, we might have our first stain up here. I'll point that out later. Here's our big vertical stabilizer. This looks pretty good. There's a lot of detail on it in the form of printed, painted, and molded detail. Printed detail, obviously, in the British flag. This looks pretty good. They do the reflections on the flag pretty nicely, too. Colors seem to be all right. Painted detail in the form of this metallic part right here. This looks good. No complaints. And, of course, we got the rudder, too. It's just a simple line. Looks pretty solid. And here's the right side of the fuselage. I won't provide much commentary here, but everything that has been said about the left side can also be applied to the right side. So the fuselage is pretty solid. Moving up to the wings are pretty huge on this model. They're pretty nicely detailed. We've got a good selection of all sorts of detail. We've got the metallic paint on the leading edge slats. That always looks pretty good. Decent amount of printed detail, not like there's very much to put up here anyway, but the printed detail looks pretty solid, seems to be accurate, and molded detail in the form of the control surfaces, all of these are clearly defined. There is no areas where the paint fills that up, so it's very good to see. Here's the right wing looks pretty good too, pretty good. Now, I'd like to talk about the wingtips, as this was brought to my attention when I was going to go buy this model. As you can see, the wingtips here are blank, and this is actually incorrect to this registration. Now, at the time of this model's release in 2018, I'm not 100% sure if the wingtips were blank on delivery, but on this aircraft, on the present day in 2023, the wingtips do have the British Airways logo, like the flag on the tail. So this is an inaccuracy here. Now, if it was delivered without this, then it's accurate to the delivery date, but not to the present day. So, that's just something I wanted to bring to your attention. Aside from that, though, the wingtip shape looks really good, and it actually doesn't look all that bad being blank, but it is an inaccuracy that was brought to my attention. Now, bottom of the wings, we've got no printed detail down here, just molded and painted. This looks pretty good. There's not that much to see down there. And on the bottom of the, which wing is the left wing, we've got the aircraft's registration right here. Moving to the rear section of the plane, here we can see the horizontal stabilizers. These look pretty good. Not too much detail here, but there's not that much to put either. No issues so far. I do notice that there appears to be a bit of a misalignment here with the British Airways flag. It's not the biggest thing, but it's something I noticed. So yeah, a little bit of something finicky happened there. There also appears to be a white paint section missing from the British flag here too on the fuselage. Earlier I said I thought I saw a stain on the upper fuselage here as well. That was just a flake of dust. Jeez, I'm inventing words these days. Back here we've got the APU. APU looks pretty good. We've got a hole for the APU exhaust, and of course we got the red section back here. And on the bottom, got the APU access doors. Everything down here looks pretty solid. Moving on to these big fat engines. These engines look pretty good. Pylons looks good. I don't think there's any details missing. Exhaust nozzle looks fantastic. Very sharp back here too. Detail on the engines is pretty nice. We've got the strakes here on both sides. That looks good. The silver up here looks good. Yeah, and we have that Rolls-Royce logo down there. And here we've got some more detail. Not as much printed detail as other models, but I don't think there's all that much to put down there anyway, so don't consider that a complaint, just an observation. Now, a thing that a lot of people get excited for, myself included, these fans and the spinner spiral details, oh my god, it's beautiful. These spin very smoothly. If I actually blow into it right now, I don't want to max out the mic, but they will spin really freely, and I mean, just look at that. It spins so smooth. So that's the left one. Right one looks the same as well. Looks pretty solid. I'm not sure if it spins as well. Yep, they both spin very smoothly. So yeah, this model had pretty good quality control based on that observation. Alright, so moving on to aerial details. This model features antennas and lights. This model does not feature any sat domes, interestingly. I believe that's accurate to the aircraft though. So at the front of the aircraft, on the top, we've got a light right here. Looks pretty good, and a large antenna. And as we move down the fuselage, we got one in the dead center of the fuselage, another big antenna, well, not in dead center, but pretty close to it. Got another big antenna right up here. This looks good. And at the back, we've got a small antenna just before we hit the vertical stabilizer. These look pretty good, no alignment issues on them, so pretty solid. On the bottom, we don't have nearly as much. We just got a big antenna right here at the bottom section of the front of the aircraft. One red light right here, if you can see that. I need to improve my camera handling skills, but yeah, there's a light right there. And one more smaller antenna at the back section of the plane, and of course we got our Gemini Jets logo. Moving on to the landing gear, here we've got the extended landing gear. These landing gear are pretty good. They're nicely detailed. They seem to be mostly accurate as well. One thing I did notice, I think it was either on this one or the other one, was on both of them, that there's like a kind of defined line right here. It's more defined on one of them than the other. But yeah, I'm not sure why that is. It's a small thing that I just noticed. I'm not really sure if that's anything bad. The wheels are made out of rubber, and they do roll to an extent. These are pretty stiff, but the ones on this one, they do roll. And as you can see, they attach to the aircraft through a system of magnets. That's for the main gear. Nose gear also does a system of magnets, right? And there's the magnet right up there. So yeah, nose gear also is supposed to roll. This one doesn't. It got pretty stiff by the looks of it. And the nose gear does swivel to rotate. One thing that this model is missing though is the lights. They used to put landing gear lights, or like gems for the lights on the landing gear. However, they don't do that anymore, so they haven't been doing that for a while, as this is a 2018 release. Alright, get ready for some pretty embarrassing handling skills. So here are the landing gear covers for the retracted position. They just fit into the slots through a system of magnets. The main gear ones fit pretty good. There's kind of a noticeable outline between the wing and the slot and the gear, but it looks good. I mean the gear cover. But yeah, it still looks good. It fits smoothly with the wing. As for the nose gear cover, this one, it's not that good. Definitely requires a bit of adjusting here and there, and even after some adjusting, doesn't fit all that well. But it gets the job done. It does fit into the slot, and it should come out relatively easily as well. I'm not sure if you guys saw earlier, but this model includes two tools to allow for the removal of the retracted covers. You just gotta put it in the little section there, and then they just come right out. Alright, so here's my goofy attempt at showing you the front of the airplane. Here we can evaluate wing flex, cockpit window printing, gear balance, engine clearance, all that fun stuff. So wing flex looks good. Wing flex definitely wasn't an issue with this model. Engine clearance looks good. You can see the front of those giant engines looks pretty good. Gear balance is symmetrical. I don't notice any imbalances. Cockpit window printing and all that printing up front looks good. No complaints up here. That's very good. And with that, my review comes to a close. Now time for my personal opinion and recommendation. This model is pretty solid. The only real issue that I have with it is the wingtips. Like I said, the logos aren't there, and I'm not 100% sure, like I said earlier, if it was there, if it was like this in this configuration for delivery, or if this is just an inaccuracy on Gemini's part. Still though, aside from that, it's an amazing model. Everything seems to be in check. I don't see really any issues with it except for a few imperfections here and there. But yeah, it's pretty solid. So therefore, I do recommend this model to anyone who can get their hands on it. Gemini is usually better with their 1 to 200 models, especially from the, which side is it? The east or the from the, not from the US, that's what I mean. They're usually better with models from there because Gemini produces through JC Wings, and I think they actually care more about quality control with these. I'm not sure why, but yeah, this is pretty solid. I'm sure that other releases are pretty solid as well. But yeah, if you want to get this model and deal with the inaccuracy, aside from that, it's a great model. So yeah, I do recommend it. Well, that's all I've got for you guys today. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for more model airplane reviews. And that's all I got for you. Like, comment, and subscribe. Take care of yourselves. Happy collecting. See you later.